Still slow, so I wonder if I think it's like the number of MIDI requests.
Good to go? Alright, I can move over this way. Alright, hello, my name's Jake. You guys all know me. So this is working on connecting our mobile applications to the APIs that we've been working on. So I did both, but I didn't officially make the connection. Like I'm a hair away. So what I do have here, I can show you. I have two separate copies. I uploaded different versions to get. So I can show you without the API, and then I can show you with the API, but not the actual app itself. So just build the app. Here. So I'm going the opposite direction. Alright, so it's just a simple app called the Jungle. I can go and type in, this is kind of slow, I'll just put my name. Just put email and password. Then I sign up, get into my app, and then there's different things you can choose for. It's Guns N' Roses reference. And you can go to different tabs and stuff. So that's just a simple thing to like use for a demo. That worked, and then I have my API set up. Same type thing we did last week with a simple post request. I used all the same stuff pretty much last week, but I didn't actually have the API hooked up to anything last week. I just had it working in Insomnia. So I have that working. Oh, this just our presenter. Working again here, so I could put in this, and the server's running, and it's posting this over and over. I ran into a problem which I don't know if it's just me or if anybody else is in this situation, but if I mess up one thing in my Angular JavaScript, like my styles and everything in the app just like goes out the window. I don't know if it's something that I'm doing wrong, but the same thing happened last time I was building too. This is just a screenshot of where I was trying to do the HTTP post request. This is my controller for, well, the one page that I have. And then when you click the sign up button, I was hoping that it would post to the server that I had running using the email and the password given. And then these are just error tests for like success or or error. I didn't actually. That's the one part I didn't actually get working. I'm missing something. Like, when I tried running this multiple times, even having a bracket in the wrong place would just like, all my app stuff would just totally disappear.
Yeah, like to a gray screen?
No, well, like, it would just have all the data just thrown out there.
Oh.
Like, all my different views and like everything that I had working on, like, all my pages would just be like all thrown out, and all my Angular stuff would be written in Angular. Like, it just, I don't know, were you guys using that too? Like,
Mine just goes like so nothing shows up if I have something wrong.
okay, so that was probably like the one question I had like left from last week, because like when we were introduced to Ionic, I understood that like it was easy to work with because you can make changes on the fly and just see and stuff like that. And it's been the opposite experience for me. If I make a change and I do something wrong, then everything stops working. So maybe I guess I'll hear from you guys and see what you guys ran into, and maybe that'll answer some questions for me. But anyways, that's it. That's what I came up with this week.
I forgot I had it from the beginning of the year. I watched the social network.
I was wondering, like, I've shared it with a bunch of people, so like.
Can turn it.
Oh. Good to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi everybody, my name is Emily MacLeod. I'm just gonna give you an update of what I've been doing for the past few weeks. So, just a brief overview of what is an API. So an API is an application programming interface. And one word, it's communication. So it's an interface used by an application to allow other applications to communicate with it. And you use an API to build applications that use a specific service. And public APIs are important because they help developers create more applications that use resources from the API service. So I also did the Mandrill course, and mandrills aren't just monkeys, but they are also, it's also used for transactional email. And I'm still plugging through the Angular.js course, haven't finished that yet. And I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to end Speakeasy or not. I don't know yet. Maybe it's time to move on to another project. Still working on it. Got through Jeff's tutorials, so to do with that. We were working on login and a login function, so I can actually get it to log in right now, but there's no error message coming up when login is unsuccessful. So still kind of working on that. It shows up in the console log, but it doesn't actually have an invalid message coming up in the when you log in. So right now, this is what I have. I have login functionality, so a database of registered users, check, validation check, but like I said, unsuccessful error, sort of. Still working on that one. And I recently found out I had no idea how my API and my application were talking to each other. I thought it was just kind of magic, but apparently there is, through the HTTP, $HTTP.post, it was able to connect to my API route on my website. So that's kind of cool. I had no idea how that was. So my next steps are to incorporate recorder for voice and persisting audio files for to save to a database. And that is where I am right now. Questions, comments?
Hi everybody, my name is AJ Fraser and I'm just going to present the application project that we've been working on. Specifically, I wanted something that was really easy. I could finish off the NEC framework stuff within the week, which I did a couple weeks back, and had, of course, in the last 2 weeks worked with API stuff. But I decided I wanted something easy and useful that myself and my friends would use. So I developed CB menus at Dine Well. So it's just a local application for Sydney, Nova Scotia. So look up restaurants that are in the area and just take a look at a PDF image of the menu itself and scroll through. It is notably not scalable and very difficult to repeat. So this isn't, a good startup idea for me. But I thought for a project, it'd be really nice to have something I could use afterwards and that you guys could use too. So I do have a little demo of the functionality. It was just using the emulator. First, what you come to after the splash page, and as you can see, it does sort of a listing by name of all the restaurants in Sydney that I've looked up. You can go on Kijus, and you can see there's a PDF there, and I've got some scrolling issues. Taking a look at it. I'm going to scroll back up here. Oh, there's flavor 19, and you can see that there's a nice PDF document of flavors. I also incorporated search functionality, so I start to type in ZIG, the only one that suits that, so you can up. I'm going to start doing by type. Gavin was slacking on it just now, how I can do that by type functionality as well, which I also have in my database. I have 28 menus left to go and take a look at myself, which actually brings me to I'd like to incorporate. So I've been able to do GET requests, and that's worked out quite well, but I didn't do any post stuff. So I'd like to be able to use the camera functions with Cordova that would allow people to take their own pictures and associate it with a restaurant. And working through restaurant grouping by type, of course, and then as well the icon and splash. So the last to-do app thing I made, I actually went through and changed each individual image, which was painstaking and stupid. There's a really nice blog tutorial on a framework that I got through Darren, which I think he got via Seonaid. So that's the next thing, and now I have a bit of an image I can use. And if anybody wants to use my API, it's just api.startupodyssey.ca /restaurant. You can get all the restaurant stuff there. And if anybody has any questions on some stuff, yeah.
The menus, it's all PDF files. Can you is it opening the actual PDF? Can you zoom in and scroll around and stuff? That's cool.
I decided to do the menu. I was trying to figure out how to do the menus, and I hadn't worked images into database yet, so I just did it by linking. So if there wasn't, like, it was torturous because this is what we're going to start helping small to medium-sized businesses work on their online presences, because there's no standard at all. So a lot of restaurants don't have websites, and a lot of them don't have menus up online, or if they have menus up online, they're either in an HTML format or in their like a PDF or whatever. So they vary. And what I had to do was I actually had to go and Photoshop all of the menus myself, and then I upload them to Imgur.
Right.
So these are all Imgur links. Actually, I can show you very quickly what the API looks like. So you can go through and you can see that, like, Amadeo's Italian Bistro, its restaurant ID is 1. It has a type of Mediterranean, different types of restaurants in the city, and then it has a menu link, and that menu link is actually to an Imgur file online. And when I'm in the controller, let me see here. Sorry, just give me a minute. Actually, it should be yeah, so you can see all I do is I've made a div that holds an image, and the ng source equals this particular scope on the menu link. So it's just uploading the image from the link itself.
So you used the Ionic template, the list template that was provided, and then each of those buttons just goes to a PDF. That's the bones of your app, basically.
Yeah, pretty well. Yeah, like everything in a database that
Right.
I can then scope into. So now.
But that's just for the search functionality, right? The stuff with the database, the back end. What else are you putting in?
Yeah, so pretty
Yeah.
well. Yeah, so just being able to like
Search.
grab stuff from Postgres, which is up on the server.
Cool.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions?
That's good.
Yeah. All right.
I'm glad you understand me. Okay, cool. So today I'm just gonna do a quick demo. Sorry, I'm Carol Louie, and I put my API up, and then last week, or I don't know, for the last like month and a half, I've been struggling with Passport. So when I got the API up, I kind of just started doing that. So if you go to cluey.ca, you can sign up locally or with your Facebook or Instagram. If you sign up locally, put in a password because I am not hashing them right now. So if I click on this, then you can see photos that I've uploaded, and I can add photos here, which takes us to like whatever Jeff was doing. So then for this week, I wanted to pull this that I've been able to save and post here onto my mobile. So just gonna and the reason why I'm doing this in the browser and not on the emulate is that I'm not able to do like swipey things. Kind of like I can't do it on my phone easily. So this little thing on Google makes it so much easier to navigate. So this is my login page. You can kind of go in. This I want to change. I wonder if I can. Oh, I want to make this kind of be like other people's posts of what they've made, but so to here it'll give you kind of like some examples of what types of collages you could make based on previous photos that you've uploaded. So then I want to do like kind of a scrolly thing. Clearly I haven't done them all, but like to give like maybe 3 or 4 options, and then that person can either choose to save the ones that have been like pre-created, or they can create their own. And then here they can make a template and they can choose how many photos they want to do and what type of borders they might want. They can shuffle the photos. None of this stuff works. This is all thoughts. Here they can kind of see what photos they have to choose from. And then I also want to be able to make it so if they click on the photo, then they can be able to edit the specific photo. And that is where I am struggling right now. I'm getting this type of data binding, and the reason why that's happening is I'm grabbing stuff from my API, and in the Ionic thing that I've been following, they've been able to do like get all friends and or like get all of your friends, and I can't do that type of parameters from my API. So that's kind of what I've been today and not succeeding with. Mainly because I've just been experimenting instead of actually reading something. So that's my next goal, is to stop just playing around and, you know, Google it. Yeah, so that's about it. Does anybody have any questions?
You got a lot done.
Thank you.
You did work really hard this week. It was good. Awesome. Cool.
Thanks, Mike.
Hi, and I have been working on an API for my actual nerdeek.com website. And at the moment, I am pleased to report that you can, in fact, obtain a JSON object from nerdeek.com. This is demo.nerdeek.com, out on the internet. It's the API, giving me back JSON. I call this blog post No Rest for the Wicked because I encountered several challenges actually in my API that exist to protect your browser and your server and your client all from getting attacks from one another. And so there's several additional steps once you can get that data back to actually be able to do anything with it. And I encountered several blocks after I got the data to come. And so I've written a great big nice post here that talks about how my various challenges were met. If you would like to look at that, it's got several in here. The gist of it, though, is at the end, I do actually have, this came from the local version of Nerdeek, but this came out of the database, and I'm really glad I made this weird-looking baby because every time I manage to get something done, that's actually how I feel about it. So, if there's any, no, what was it? Over here, I've got this is the Ionic stuff. And one of the challenges that I had was connecting up, how to connect the app and the tab and the controllers. So if you have need of that information, it's in that blog post to some extent, and I can help you walk through that as well. That's really about what I've got, because mostly I got things done this week, so I didn't do a lot of writing about them, and I only got it working at 1:17, I think. So. So there was no time for slides. Any questions? Okay.
Great. So I worked again on layers, and is not a week or maybe even more than a week for me. I once again overestimated what I could do in a short period of time. Like, my time at UIT is like a hackathon, and the end is always Friday, and sometimes I miss the mark, and sometimes I like set myself up for such big changes that it might not even be subsequent Fridays until it's done. And that's like fixing these bugs I have, like Shona mentioned, really not fun. So I had another API that worked fine. You guys saw, shared it, and that was all good, but faster, so I replaced it with this new thing, and I just put the old one, the new one was broken. I was insistent that I would eventually be able to make this new thing happen very quickly, and it was a week. So I've been making like really quick commits, but like not a lot of deploys. The code I push is always broken in one way or another. And I'm still Polymer, and I forgot my cell phone over here. Maybe I forgot over here. 2 weeks ago, I worked on, and that was before all of these bugs. And I got the camera working on layers so that you can take a picture and add to the canvas. And that was awesome. But since then, I haven't really touched my Ionic app because I broke the web app. So I might go back to maybe having more than one API and run the old one and API/1, and on my newer APIs it would be API/2 and etc. Going up the newer versions without having to take down my server and put up more broken code eventually. And it's still a version control system for online media. And it's really hard to translate that into mobile because there's limited resources in the hardware. So I'm trying to find ideas, find them I don't know, but to make the phone tolerate all of these different types of media, and it might end up being a native app that is the only, which would be crappy. And web components make all of the in the DOM more standardized, so we already have access to videos and pictures and audio, but accessing these things isn't easy. I would show you any number of demos right now, but in fact, they are all broken. Integrating Jeff's new stuff, or Jeff's new tutorial. I was able to make like a full REST API, but then can't, like Shona said, actually do anything with the data once. So I'm still grappling with that. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, my name is Heather Voyles, and I'm just going to share some of my progress over the last couple of weeks using Ionic and developing a REST Jeff Anderson's tutorial recently. So my goals for this week specifically were to use Insomnia to test the API and to develop sort of an input-output plan for the database, the structure of the database, and to connect the form in my app, which is Kaplow, to the API, which I did not successfully do. So basically, I don't have the integration on the back end yet. But I'll show you what I do have. It's not much. That emulator screen size. So essentially, I've got the form I want for when you go into the app. Basically, it'll have the splash screen, and then this would be a custom view. This dispatch, this will automatically populate some of the form fields. So this is actually the third view. I haven't gotten the second view in, so I just worked on getting the form designed and trying to make sure that the information goes into the database. That's about as far as I got. So I have essentially the API, I have the database set up, I have the structure of the app, but I don't have any of them speaking to each other connected. So then this information goes goes through another process of being sent to the dispatcher. And so I have to create another view for another form on the back end that no one else sees. Information is submitted. So it goes to the database, and then it'll go from the database to the dispatcher, and then the dispatcher alert. So it's a really simple app, but I still haven't figured out, now that I have it mapped out, exactly how to do that last component. So really that's about where I'm at. So I do have the REST API, but I actually just started that. I looked at it a bit the week before last, I guess it was, and then talked with Jeff a little bit while he was here, but then just physically got to developing the API, and I got down to pagination, and everything started to seem like it wasn't going to be relevant to this app, so I stopped there. My goals moving forward are to finish that and try to connect, maybe using some of Shona's, maybe some of the resources in your blog, now that I know that you had the same problems. And then to also get back to the Code Academy and Linda tutorials that I skated out on this last week.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Darren MacDonald. I'm here to talk to you about an application that probably won't interest most of you because it will interest around 1,500 folks in North America for sure. So that's how many ergonomists there are. However, what I wanted to do is simplify a service that I provide using kind of the technology that we've been playing around with. So it's an assessment of office environments, which is really exciting. So what I did, I have did a screen capture of the app and its current functionality. So hopefully, oh wait, no, I need one more. This will walk us through kind of the views that it has, the data field. The logic still has to be programmed in on the recommendation side, and I'll explain that when I get to it. If that movie's going to play. It should be.
Right click play movie.
What's that?
Right click play movie.
No, it should work before it came up.
This happened to me before
It did?
when you had that like the preview view type of thing.
Let's try this. Okay, so this is the main screen, and it comes up, which I did use the Ionic resource. Thank you, Shona. That was awesome. A ton of time. So you can see when you log in, it takes you. I did integrate Cordova app, so we'll take a picture of the application. Because I didn't hook it up to my phone yet. The other thing is these are the data fields that get filled out. On the inputs that go in here, there's only about 7 measures. Automatic on the back end. So from a savings perspective, it would be huge advantage. A lot more money for folks that are conducting these things. So once the data is all inputted, so it's going to be a post request to my database, and what it has to do, and this is the logic I was hoping to talk to Rob about, was doing on the math and the logic that comes out of this. So on the next tab, on the recommendations tab, you'll see we'll get injection in for 3 main areas based on the information provided on the screen before. So it'll give you a recommendation on your workstation height and where your monitor should be. So
Instantly?
yeah.
So then what's the point of the picture?
What picture?
The
Reference.
picture on the front page.
Yeah, it's always for reference. When you're writing reports, you usually take 3 views.
Okay.
Yeah. So what it'll do, I have this set up as a Google form right now on my phone, and that's where I got the idea for it because I didn't really want the one we started the Ionic app with. So this is the road I went down, and I did a lot of learning this week, which is probably to my detriment because I spent too much time in tutorials. There's not enough time coding, but I thought it was great. Angular I'm more familiar with it. That's how I went and tried to figure out that camera component today. And yeah, a lot more familiarity I think now with JavaScript. So that's something I'm really keen on working on. So that's my focus. And unfortunately, this week I'm going to be preoccupied. And this is hopefully one of the last ergonomics things I have to do. That's write a chapter for a textbook, and it's due at the end of the month. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time iterating through that this week coming. So that's it.
Cool, man.
Of the tutorials you did, was that one on Angular that you posted yesterday?
Yeah.
Your favorite?
A lot in it.
Okay.
It was long.
I went through it and there was like some things I wanted to see and I needed pro and stuff, so I wasn't sure what, like, did you...
I skipped a lot of the stuff where you had to read the textbook because I didn't have the textbook
Yeah.
before. But yeah, I did get a bit of the terminology around controllers and directives and stuff. It was like, oh. So then when I went back and that's the other thing. I started the Ionic project on a blank install. And when I came in today, Rob's like, well, probably start with the tab view since that's what you're using. So I had to go back and recode that this morning, which kind of sucked because I wanted to do it because I did all those tutorials, but whatever. It was still a good learning experience.
Oh, that's one of five too. So you're gonna try to make this entertaining for everybody.
Good.
All right, cool. All right. Hello, my name is Colin MacInnis, and I've been very busy the last few weeks. So, at the beginning of time, there was offices, but then those offices were retiring. Blah 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 blah. And it got into phase out. That's the end of the music. There's a 6-second fade out. All right, cool. So, what I did last week. So there's a lot. I'm just gonna try to run through it. On Monday, I had first meeting with a lawyer, which was very intimidating, but very cool at the same time because it was Danielle's dad, Robert. He was very, very friendly, very informative. It was great to actually go have a meeting with lawyers. Great. We set up our emails. Me and Halifax, crammed in the back seat was Mike Target, who I really don't know how he fit there, but he did. So then me and Brian late at night around 1 a.m. said, you know, we should probably have emails for tomorrow if people want to get in touch. So we set up Colin at Phased.io and Brian at Phased.io. Did our State of the Province address. That was really cool. A lot of media came up from that. But then a lot of people are saying, hey, what the hell are you doing? Like, I see you're posting stuff online. I don't really know what you're doing. I don't know what the full idea is. So then we did a little video update from our hotel room. which had over 1,000 views less than a week later, and it was just got a lot of traction from that. So then coming back, I had the flu. I was sick, but it did not keep me down. We incorporated as a federal company, so entity of Canada, which is really cool. And then we even took it a step further, trademarked Phased.io. All in the same week. There was a lot of stuff to jump through, but we got it done. And do it too. But I mean, now the game is going to be having a lawyer look over what we did. And like I said on Monday, I set a fire. Do I want a gasoline or fire extinguisher? Thank you, Brian, for the quote. So yeah, this week, the innovative ideas submissions. So Derek Lumbercat told me and Brian about an idea, or that we should go compete in this thing. We put in our idea in a submission. There's a few rounds to go through as far as evaluating if you get through. And we are now going to Halifax as finalists in the Innovative Ideas 2015 competition, which we have a chance to win $25,000. Pretty cool. I had a formal meeting with Cape. That was on Tuesday. So we sat down, we walked through everything involved in our early adopters, the risk of them coming on this stage in the game versus later, and basically how we're going to help them out and how they'll become a part of our founding team, not by create and co-create what will be Phased.io. Led into, okay, well, what kind of paperwork does the customer need to sign or whatever? So I started drafting a letter of intent and understanding, so that they understand that coming in at the MVP is what you can expect, and things may change. It's not going to be the full app and everything as they might think it to be. So that's clearly articulated in that. This morning we got an email giving Brian and I membership with Phase to the Chamber of Halifax, so there's a bunch of benefits that go with that. They usually charge $300 a year. I think we're only getting 1 year for free, and it might not be of use to us because we're here in Cape Breton. But yeah, it'll be something that we look into. Checking out Acola, they have some funding that they have a deadline on by March 31st, so we're trying to kind of get our nose in there and some money. Personally think that the only thing limiting us right now is that we can't develop faster. So hopefully we'll just get into building it quicker. Legal services and office space, huge news is that Samson McDougall is coming on with you, which is great. And yeah, we have the office over at Samson McDougall, which AJ, Darren, Brian and I used the other day. It was great. It's a really cool space and everybody should go check it out. Next week, competition prep. We're driving up on Sunday until Tuesday. Formal business plan for ACOA. So the competition isn't really top priority, but it is at the same time due to its date. I need to get a formal business plan, which includes detailed list of resources, finances needed to operate, blah, 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 blah. Basically, this is everything we need to do this right, and will you please give us the money? Finalizing paperwork for customers. So now that I have some stuff drafted, now I need to get them looked over. That's my next part as well, setting up a bank account and reaching out to newly elected presidents. So a problem that is going to be reoccurring in the future is that I reached out, the guy I had spent all this time building a relationship with at St. FX. I was saying, hey man, what's up? He's like, oh, not much. He's like, oh, how's studying going? He's like, not bad. And I was like, so when are the elections? He's like, they already happened. This is the new guy. And I was like, oh, shit. Can you introduce me to him? So, I mean, that'll be a problem as far as sales goes, but I think it'll be worthwhile to tackle. And as far as getting in and getting in with the organization, and then maybe it'll become a recurring thing, right? But that's a barrier. Upcoming dates, February 23rd, March 5th, we have our MVP launch. First week of March, the ACOA deadlines, and there's another pitch competition in March for $50,000. Don't know the name of it, don't know the date of it, don't know anything about it. So I encourage everybody to do that. By the way, these icons don't mean anything. Stuff. So life, I went to the gym twice this week, which was nice. My aunt turned 50 yesterday, and I took her to breakfast. I cooked a meal for my parents last night, which was rice and carrots, pretty much boiled in a pot.
Can't wait to go there.
And I played video games for 2 hours yesterday. I've been running out of steam lately, so yesterday was kind of like a rejuvenating day. Yeah. So with that, thank you for your time. And Brian's going to come up and show you guys what he's been working on the development side of Faysdale.
Alright, hello everyone, I'm Brian Best, and I'm the CTO of Phase.io. In contrast to what Colin's been doing in the business world, I've been working my butt off in the tech world trying to make our actual application. So this week and last weekend has been all about making the actual application we wanted to. So I've spent a lot of time in my trusty notebook basically writing out the processes and steps of how this application, what the features we want, what the different is going to happen, and how it interacts with the database. So we've been making a lot of progress in how this looks, but once I got in on Monday, it's okay, we need to make this thing, we need to make the project scalable, we need to make sure that any stuff we write now is going to be of use to us in the future down the road. So to that end, there was a very good course on Lynda that kind of looks at a web development process from a 10,000 foot perspective. It gives you a lot of information. I'll give you a link in Slack on what it is. But it helped me figure out what the content or how to make a content strategy for Phase.io. With that, some of the things I've been doing is basically making sure that our project is scalable and with an Angular project. So we have controllers, we have different CSS sheets for every that happens. Everything is meticulous down to which things will be occurring to. So when you're loading up an events page, you're getting an events JavaScript and you're getting events CSS. No other bloatware, no other stuff. It's just that kind of information. To make it more efficient, I've also been looking at ways of making cool things happen with our development. So there is something called continuous integration, which will take, whenever you push from GitHub, it will actually take your put or data, run it through tests, and if it passes all the tests, it'll actually push to your DigitalOcean server and deploy all your code. And so these guys at CodeShip offered a pretty good deal. It's free for 100 deploys, and it basically shows you here's all the commits I've made. Every time you see one of these things succeed, it's pushed to the server, but whenever it fails, it's failed for all these reasons. And I can go back. So it's a pretty cool and nifty tool. After this, I showed Gavin, hey, this is what I've done, and he was unfortunately greeted with this screen, which was shown on the deployment site, and he asked me, Ryan, looks a little wonky. This is, of course, because I didn't develop for mobile first, which I do for every other project except this one for the first thing. So I went back and I changed a bunch of things. And so the interface looks a little bit better now, if I can get out of this. So the progression of the app from here to here to here, and now to the actual live, which is this. I can make this bigger. So this is Phase.io as it stands right now. Go to events, you can see your events that are currently in there. You can create events, and you go to draft events. And you can find all these little things. So. Just so
That's terrible.
but yeah, this stuff is available right now on the deployed server, which is beta.phase.io port 3000, which you guys can check out and keep me on task for that kind of stuff. So that's where Phase is right now. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Faye McDonald, and I'm here today to discuss APIs and how they benefit people in the tech world. To my understanding, APIs is like the functioning of each app, and we share our APIs so that apps can work together, so we can build new ideas on pre-existing ones without having to reinvent the wheel. So, like Jake might work on one thing and I might work on one thing, but it might be better off if we can communicate, because maybe they're similar enough that if we could decide on one, we can build more together. So kind of like the wheel. And it's important when you're working with an API to understand how it works, because like if you were in a chemistry lab, you'd want to know the on how that works. It's important to take the time, because it can be the difference between fireworks and an explosion. So working with APIs, it's good to have an understanding of an API in general, but also know that each API is different. So it's really good to know how each one works so that you can work with it well. And the idea, I think, like my general idea with entrepreneurship and following through with any idea, you have to have a clear communication path between what you're working with and who you're working with, because an idea will only be as good as it's received. So it might be like magnificent in your mind, but if you don't have the ability to communicate that with someone, and if you're not prepared to learn the rules and learn how you can get it to work, it's essentially useless. So you might go an idea and then see that all this red tape is in the way, maybe that will deter you. But if you take the time to break it down and learn which piece of red tape means what, maybe it's not as hard to get through each piece as you learn it, and maybe when you learn the rules, you can learn how to use them to your advantage instead of seeing it as bad. So that's communication, I think, is really important with API, and knowing a basic understanding. Because you'd have, like, for instance, Mickey Mouse did Mickey Mouse, and it came from the Magic Kingdom, and now there's movies, and so much branched out from just that small mouse, but it didn't just happen in a day. So patience and communication is really important. And I learned it I'm distracted the past few weeks because I took on community projects outside of UIT, and I was kind of disappointed because we started meeting in December to have this fundraiser with United Way and the ski hill, but we were waiting on the United Way because they had to finish previous engagements before they could start advertising what we had been working on. So they just kind of introduced it to the public 2 weeks ago, and they weren't getting the response that they wanted, so they canceled it today, and it's 2 weeks away. And I found that really disappointing myself, because my friends and I had been putting volunteering time into the planning of this, but we couldn't really communicate it until they had finalized the decisions, because that was more their project. So I found that really disappointing for myself, and that is kind of a real world example of knowing how the ski hill works. So they have like their own API, and then the United Way had their own API, and the committee as a whole, like everyone had a different idea of how it was going to work, and in the end it didn't. We didn't understand as a committee that we couldn't start advertising until 2 weeks ago, so that was a huge issue, and I was kind of disappointed with that. But hopefully, well, now I know for the future that when working with you should value your time and take time more to know how things work and how people work, so that you're working with a good team who have similar values and goals. Same as an API, like you'll have to know what your app wants to accomplish at the end before you can make it useful. And you have to have a clear understanding of what other people expect from you. You can communicate with them what it actually is delivering. So that's my understanding of an API. Hi guys. This is my code from Jeff's tutorial, and I commented out all the stuff I didn't need and added in what I did need to make my API work. And I did test it with Insomnia, so everything has been working for me. And today, thanks to I got my database working on DigitalOcean. And right now I'm working on a tutorial to make a login screen. This is my wireframe of what I would like it to look like eventually. And what else I have there? But piece is working, I just have to get them connected together, so I'm hoping maybe Rob can help me this next week coming up with it. What I don't get done this weekend. And I did an update yesterday about how I was feeling with Postgres. And today it's a little bit better. So. Yep.
So good.
Any questions?
It does look like you're in control of that cat. If perhaps aggressively.
I'm surprised the app even worked that well.
I'd like to do all my
Seriously,
updates
it's really
on
broken.
it. It's a lot of fun.
You didn't know you were making presentation software?